Body cam footage released. The tragic Takia Young case. On September 1st, 2023, Blendon Township Police released the body cam footage showing the deadly shooting of 21-year-old Takia Young in a Kroger parking lot on August 24th, 2023. The 5-minute video shows a police officer standing in front of her vehicle, shooting Young within 30 seconds of the interaction beginning. Young began turning her steering wheel away from the two officers before she accelerated, but as she pulled forward, her car started pushing against the officer before he shot her. Takia Young was accused of shoplifting from the Kroger located at 5991 South Sunbury Road, when nearby officers were alerted to the alleged theft by a Kroger employee and immediately approached Young's vehicle. Young was pregnant at the time, and the family said she was expecting to give birth to a baby girl in November. Takia Young was shot and killed by Blendon Township Police after she allegedly shoplifted alcohol from the Sunbury Plaza Kroger and attempted to flee the scene on August 24, 2023. Blendon Township presented its use of force policy for the police department. The policy states the following about how officers should respond to a moving vehicle. When feasible, officers should take reasonable steps to move out of the path of an approaching vehicle instead of discharging their firearm at the vehicle or any of its occupants. An officer should only discharge a firearm at a moving vehicle or its occupants when the officer reasonably believes there are no other reasonable means available to avert the imminent threat of the vehicle, or if deadly force other than the vehicle is directed at the officer or others. Officers should not shoot at any part of a vehicle in an attempt to disable the vehicle. The officer did not appear to attempt to get out of the way of the moving vehicle, instead opting to point his gun at Young and shoot her. Before Young was shot, the two Blendon Township officers used an air wedge to try and unlock another person's car. Young entered her vehicle with a large bag on her shoulder. Shortly after, the first officer approached her vehicle after an unseen person tells him something inaudible. Blendon Township Police Chief John Belford said this was a Kroger employee telling the officers that Young has stolen several bottles of alcohol. No stolen alcohol bottles are seen in the footage. The officer knocked on Young's window and said, "Hey, stop," and "Get out of the car." Young rolled down her window and asked, "For what?" To which the officer says, "They said you stole stuff. Do not leave." Young replied, I didn't steal shit. The other girls were taking..." The officer began hitting Young's partially open window, and Young said, "Are you going to shoot me?" As this first officer interacted with her, the other officer abandoned the air wedge and placed himself in front of the vehicle and unholstered his gun as Young begins turning her steering wheel. Within seconds, the officer then pointed his gun at Young, and as Young's vehicle pulled forward and pushed the officer, he shot one bullet through the windshield and hit Young. The car continued pulling away and rolled toward the plaza building and came to a halt on the sidewalk under an awning. As officers gave chase, they yelled at Young to stop that car. Within seconds of the car stopping under a RX walk-up sign, the officers busted open her driver's side window. The video released on September 1st does not show the officers giving first aid to Young, but Belford provided a breakdown of how officers provided aid. He said that 10 seconds after officers got Young out of the car, Officer 1 called for EMS, and 10 seconds later, Officer 1 sprinted back to his car to get a trauma kit and wound seal, and then sprinted back and began to use it to stop bleeding. Belford said 68 seconds after Young is out of the car, Officer 1 sprints back from his car and applies a chest seal to her wound in an effort to stop the bleeding. And 90 seconds after Young is out of the car, an ER physician approaches the officers and begins to help with medical attention. Belford said 9 minutes after receiving the call, EMS arrived on the scene and took over the treatment of Young. Young was taken to St. Anne's Hospital where she died. Throughout the edited video, the officers' faces are blurred out, and there are several instances. Belford said in a statement, "The officers' identities are being withheld under Marcy's law, which protects the identities of crime victims." Belford said in a statement that the first officer is being considered a victim because of attempted vehicular assault, and even though Young is deceased, the crime victim status remains. The second officer is considered a crime victim because his arm was in the car as she pulled away, and the crime is considered misdemeanor assault. This was a tragedy. Miss Young's family is understandably very upset and grieving. While none of us can fully understand the depths of their pain, all of us can remember them in our prayers and give them the time and space to deal with this heartbreaking turn of events, Belford said in a statement. Belford said he is expecting lawsuits as a result of this shooting, which is why some information is not being released, and he is limited in what he can say. But what information has been brought to light since the death of Takia Young? The interior surveillance video, released on September 8, 2023, shows Young filling bags with bottles of liquor from the state liquor agency within the Kroger grocery store. The autopsy report, released on October 4, 2023, says Young was struck by gunfire once. The bullet struck Young's heart, the edge of her esophagus, aorta, and her spine. The toxicology portion of the autopsy report shows Young tested positive for THC, a main ingredient in marijuana. The report says no other drugs or alcohol were found in her system. The evidence appears to suggest that Takia Young may indeed have been guilty of the crime for which she is being accused. However, this tragedy raises two important questions. Did the officers follow departmental guidelines in the attempted apprehension of Takia Young? Secondly, was there use of excessive force in their attempt? The following video is the redacted and partially department-edited footage of the incident.
Attend to 29-3705 Managua, 3705. A female is hallucinating. Too much of her ask for attend.
Out of the car. Out of the car. Out of the car. Out of the car. Out of the car.
Medic 7 back in service, 1828.
Get out of the car. Then get out. No. Then get out.
Get out of the fucking car.
Get out of the car.
Get out of the fucking car.
Get out of the car!
Shots fired.
Shots fired! Stop the goddamn car! Stop the goddamn car!
We're going to have a 44 on the customer now. He's going to be at Attend to 29-3705 Managua, 3705.
What's that?
Female is hallucinating. Too much of her ask for attend.
Hey, stop. Hey, out of the car. 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 They said your stole stuff, do not leave. Get out of the car. Then get out. No, then get out. Get out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car! Shots fired! Stop the goddamn car! Stop the goddamn car!
We're going to have 44 on route. He's going to be at
There it is. Stop. Hey, out of the car. 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 They said your sole stuff, do not leave. Get out of the car. Then get out. No, then get out.
Get out of the fucking car.
Get out of the car.
Get out of the fucking car.
Get out of the car! Shit. Shots fired! Stop the goddamn car! Stop the goddamn